Hello and welcome to our brand new series where I'm going to be delving into the creation of magic items for implementation in your adventures, campaigns, and other tabletop RPGs. I'm going to be reading the sort of introduction to magic items from the Dungeon Master's Guide to give us a bit of context, and then we are going to go over and actually create some magic items. I will explain to you the sort of categories that we need to get involved with in order to create one, the general purposes you want to be looking for in magic items, and then also the kind of implementation you should be looking for, whether it be a sort of slow trickle throughout a long adventure and campaign, or perhaps you want to shower your players with magic items in an extremely high fantasy kind of way. The sort of themes of your campaign might sort of change dramatically. The types of magic items you also want to put into your world. So it's kind of important that we at least take a look a bit of what the DMG has to say and then sort of pick and choose aspects that we want in our world. Because not every magic item is going to be something you want to put in your world. It may not only be too powerful, but it just might change the flavor and how things work in your world, or how they play. It might completely diminish the sort of theme and campaign and tone you're trying to go for. So I'm going to read some from the DMG. This is still a brand new series that I'm just starting today. And much like the encounter map, there's no true format. I'm going to try to keep it concise. I'm going to try to keep it clean. I'm going to try and show you things that we can not only not only can you take away from here today and put into your games, but hopefully this entire series will become a sort of catalog for you to pull from, for your own designs, or maybe it will inspire you to make something better or different. So no more ranting. Let's get into it. The DMG has an entire chapter on treasure. Types of treasures come in many forms: coins, gemstones, art objects, and magic items. Now, I don't give a lot of gold. Um, I like to trickle in and slowly scale them into their wealth and power levels with magic items. I know that in our Out of the Abyss campaign, they have a lot more magic items than I have ever given, but that's also because they're hoarders and haven't decided to use many of the consumable magic items that I have given them. That being said, I do it slowly because you can't really take back. I have designed some interesting ways where I have actually not forced them, but given them an opportunity to destroy magic items in order to obtain potentially access to another one, and that went very well. But it was an opportunity for me to say, you have too much magic items. I need you to take one out so I can give you some more. Um, because sometimes players play it too gamey, and that's fine. It is a game, but for my worlds, it just doesn't work. Um, so kind of take that into context before designing some of these magic items, or not even just the design phase, but giving them out, because the DMG has so many magic items that you could just pull from and give to the players, and they'll love it. But they can break the game. They can make the game too easy, and then you have to start ramping your creatures, your mechanics, all that kind of stuff, just to compensate. So let's take it a little slowly. But magic items. Types of magic items include armor, potions, scrolls, rings, rods, staffs, wands, weapons, and wondrous items. Magic items also have rarities: common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary. Intelligent monsters often use magic items in their possession, while others might hide them away to ensure that they don't get lost or stolen. For example, if a hobgoblin tribe has a +1 longsword and an alchemy jug in its treasure hoard, the tribe's warlord might wield the sword while the jug is kept somewhere safe. Magic items are gleaned from the hordes of conquered monsters or discovered in long lost vaults, such items grant capabilities a character could rarely have otherwise, or they complement their owner's capabilities in wondrous ways. That's another thing you should start delving into. We're gonna get into that part, but the concept of either complementing their capabilities or honing it, or giving them things that there are no spells for. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, I want the boots of haste from Critical Role. I want to be able to have the haste thing with no consequence." That's very cool. It's something to aspire towards. It kind of it gives um, a sort of not only uniqueness, but it gives Vax the ability to become a bit more than the class can be. With a rogue, you only really get that one attack, and it has to be huge. Based on how Matt rules the crit aspect of it, he's a bit more strict on it, kind of consistently forcing Vax to hide or find opportunities to get the sneak attack rather than just giving it consistently, as per the just baseline rulings as written. And I respect Matt for that. But he's also given him the boots of haste to compensate and sort of push out and complement his capabilities, pushing him further than a normal rogue should be able to do, and giving him more options to start, trying to maneuver around the battlefield. So those are the kind of things you want to look at when making a magic item. Um, Rarity. Each magic item has a rarity: common, uncommon, rare, very rare, or legendary. Common magic items, such as a potion of healing, are the most plentiful. Some legendary items, such as the apparatus of Qualish, which was seen in our Out of the Abyss campaign. What does happen is, as he disappears, you hear clanking and movement and metal being pushed around. And then you hear a Jeep start up. As coal starts to shoot out with black smoke from this apparatus of Qualish, and fire starts to illuminate the interior. You hear the Pudding King call out, "Faster! Lower the cages! Give him his sacrifice!" As the Pudding King is now within the apparatus of Quellish and brings it to life. He uses his action to start it up, so he cannot do anything else. Such as the apparatus of Qualish are unique. The game assumes that the secrets of creating most powerful items arose centuries ago and were then gradually lost as a result of wars, cataclysms, and mishaps. Even uncommon items can't be easily created. Thus, many magic items are well preserved antiquities. Rarity provides a rough measure of an item's power relative to other magic items. Each rarity corresponds to character level, as shown in the magic item rarity table. A character doesn't typically find a rare magic item, for example, until around 5th level. That said, rarity shouldn't get in the way of your campaign story. If you want a ring of invisibility to fall into the hands of a 1st level character, so be it. No doubt a great story will arise from that event. If your campaign allows for trade in magic items, rarity can also help you set prices for them. As the DM, you determine the value of an individual magic item based on its rarity. Suggested values are provided in the magic item rarity table below. So, common is 50 to 100 gold. Uncommon is 100 to 500 gold, and I have always stuck to that kind of aspect. I sometimes have made some uncommon items about 1,000 gold, but that's just because I feel like an extra ability on that item gives a little bit more oomph, or lets it become what it needs to be. And then I just increase that level of that price cost along with it. Rare is 500 to 5,000, and that's a really good range. Then you have very rare from 5,000 to 50,000, and then legendary, which is 50,000 plus to whatever it's gonna be. So what I would say is, use the concept of rarity and price more than anything else. because you might not understand how you want to design a magic item at first or how to balance them, but rarity and price will get you there more often than any other sort of category. For example, a potion of healing is about 50 gold. Maybe it's different in your campaigns, mine is 50 gold. It's a basic common healing potion. Heals them for 2d4 plus 2. And then uncommons are supposed to go for about 100 to 500 gold. Alright. I always end up yawning in these videos because I start feeling comfortable just talking about content and getting things, just engaging with you guys to more intimate level of DMing, where you get to share this information and just let it flow through you. So sorry for the yawning, but I am interested in going through this. So uncommon magic items, for me, are baseline 500 gold. They don't go above it unless it's a bit stronger, and rarely do I hit that 1500 gold threshold. Now you're already saying, well, you've already dipped into the price cost of rare. Rare is 500 to 5000. You are the dungeon master. It is up to you to discover where your thresholds are. What I ended up doing was making uncommon between 500 and 1500 gold, and I do not go to the 2000 gold range. I then made the rare item threshold between 3000 and so on. So what that lets me do is sort of push a tier level where uncommon items in my world may or may not be, in my opinion they are, more powerful than most people's, but it's not in the sense that they give, I don't give, disclaimer, +1 enchantment bonuses, expensive. Yeah. But my point is, uncommon items, I don't necessarily throw as like +1 weapons. I throw them in as like things that have really good useful utility, or allow a character to start having something push what they're good at, or give them a new ability kind of that will work well with what they're trying to accomplish. So for example, I would say that it is better early on to design an uncommon magic item for, let's say, a paladin who consistently struggles with getting to a place fast enough, with a sort of sprinter's boots kind of deal, something that allows them to get to places faster, or even a sort of chain of returning. Both things from Critical Role, but they kind of answer problems that a player might, run across, where they feel like their turn might be wasted because they can't get to what they want to get at or do what they want to do. So uncommon items fill that niche, and they can be as cheap as 500 gold, but if you're already beyond that phase and still don't want to give them a rare, item, you can still have an uncommon item go from that 500 gold range to 1000 or 1500, and then give it an extra ability per 500 gold. For example, now instead of the chain of returning, throwing a melee weapon and then returning, you could give it a charge as part of your attack action. When you charge the weapon, let's say it was not just a chain of returning, it was a magnetized gauntlet that when you threw a weapon, you could not only charge the weapon to do an additional 1d8, it then also gave it the thrown property. So now, one, it is turning melee weapons into this thrown aspect where you can keep, where you can have some more utility. You can now hit things you couldn't hit before because maybe you didn't have enough movement speed, or the creature was flying. Now you've allowed your paladin to have utility, and then you buffed it by giving it some damage. Players always want damage, and you need to be careful with how much you give out. They may want something, but it's your job as the DM to balance it to work for them and you. Um, so if we had made it in the rare category, we would have needed not only to push that price up dramatically, but to make give it some sort of rare characteristics. We would need like up almost up to 5th level spells to do that. The book states that the character level is 5th or higher, and those spells are usually like a fireball, lightning bolt, stuff like that. So what I would say is um, use uncommon, more common than not, and push the bounds of utility, damage, and sort of what's the word they used so well in here? See if I can find it. They had a good. When I use it, or they complement the owner's capabilities, or grant capabilities a character could rarely have otherwise. So movement is really good. Giving something the throne property is extremely fun for a melee character. Um, maybe you want to give them advantage on something that they are really struggling with. And advantage is a really strong sort of ability to give. So I would start in that uncommon rarity and just use 500 gold for one ability. If it has a second ability, give it another 500 gold value. And if you really need it to have a third ability, I would rethink the item before continuing, because character magic items, in my experience and my understanding and my preference and my teachings, they do not need to be paragraph texts. Please get away from that. I have had characters send me paragraphs of how they, oh, it would be cool if it did all of these things. Oh, but if it's too strong, let me know. I have no problem giving out powerful magic items. They have to be earned. They have to potentially be paid for either in blood or iron. Blood or gold. Did you pay the iron? Iron or gold. Sorry, Game of Thrones reference. Um, it's fine to do that, but you do not need to make a massive text box for your magic items. There are ways not only to simplify power, um, and and I don't mean just abbreviating a card so it stays more condensed. I mean, let a magic item be really good at one thing. Let it just be that boom, like give it that oomph that gives it its uniqueness, its identity, that doesn't need a convoluted text of +1 to attack rolls, +1 +1 to my charisma, and then I get advantage whenever I look east and I'm facing the sun, and can also has this spell, but I can only do it if I can only do it when, like, calm down. Simplify. Let's go to rare, and I'll give you an example of that, where if you really want to push the bounds of an item to being stronger, I'm gonna give you some context that works really well, but is also, let's also be in the understanding that it is earned, whether through a very difficult, dangerous quest or series of quests or adventures. Um, it is purchased in my experience, how I've done rare, it's 3,000 to 6,000 gold. But I will show you a bit of context, I will explain it. This video is getting a little longer than I realized, but I promise that we will get into some magic item creation that I will showcase to you. But I do want to just take a quick moment and go over the difference between uncommon and rare. So I have a magic item in front of me that I designed for the Out of the Abyss campaign. It is our Infernal Plate of the Flame Tyrant, crafted from the scales of Themberchaud, the adult red dragon in Gracklestug. This was a long time coming. It was a very expensive resource. Scales of a red dragon, yeah, hard to get in general, but they were able to not only get it, but they have an artificer in their party. So I decided that I knew they would make some kind of armor from it, and I wanted it to be substantial. So not only did I have a couple of designs ready, but I had designs based on if they would crit on the sort of enchanting and crafting of the item itself. But when I want to delve into what I was getting at is that when we delve into the arena of rare magic items, these items are much more powerful. This is when you can kind of give a character an identity as something iconic in their possession, or defines how they look or fight for the rest of the campaign. So it should not only have a strong gold price, but it should be impactful. Whereas in uncommon, we're trying to give utility over power. In rare, we can still give utility, but we already know that the players at this point want defining strong magic items that are a testament to their accomplishments, but also let them feel that strength that they have accumulated through tons of hours of gaming. Now, this is on the higher end of the rare, so I've always made a rare item 3,000 gold, and then the top end 6,000. So the Infernal Plate of the Flame Tyrant is an armor, rare, requires attunement, slot, body, and value 6,000 gold. Forged from the blood red scales of an adult red dragon, this full plate armor radiates smoldering heat. Enchanted, you gain a +1 to your AC while attuned to this armor. You have resistance to fire damage while wearing this armor. Molten Retribution, 3 times per day. When a creature within 5 feet hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to unleash a blast of heat. The attacker takes 2d6 fire damage and must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or have disadvantage on their next weapon attack due to searing pain. That on its own is a really strong magic item for anyone to possess. The rarity complements that, and the price enforces it. So that was what my context for the beginning of this rant was. You should allow rarity and price to balance or reinforce your magic items. You don't need to say, oh, I don't know how to price this, it's gonna be 1,250 gold. No, get out of that mindset too. At 50 gold, those kind of prices are designed for when they haggle things down or fail at checks and end up getting the price jacked to the roof. You might want to put something at 1,250, but to me, I don't do it. But when designing something, just have in context how rare you want it to be and the price threshold you want to get to. And also make it relative to potions of healing and other consumable items. If you're looking for something that will help you figure out pricing, start with something that is very common for everyone. potions of healing are usually 50 gold. I've seen in some places they're more expensive and cheaper. Figure out what would work in your campaign and then use that as a metric to start gauging higher prices for stronger sort of items. Then we go into very rare, which is, you know, some much more obscene things. That's when personally you're looking at +2 enchantments, which is like +2 to attacks and damage rolls, +2 to AC, or +2 to saving throws. You know, that realm is not only are you is not specifically giving identity to someone, but that's where you're just saying you are in the end game. You are finding things that were not meant for mortal hands, or were designed eons ago and stuff, so on and so forth. So very rare, might have little to no utility. I mean, not saying don't design something with that, but since I don't design anything with these big fat texts, cards, and you're trying to keep them concise, very rare shouldn't list off another tangent of abilities that it has. It should just be like the what's a good example? Like a +2 ring of protection is really nasty. You may not think of it that way, but it is. +2 ring of protection is really cool. Me as a DM, I don't think I would personally ever use an item like that. I prefer the sort of flavor and different characteristics and basically like extra spell slash options. A more flavorful item like maybe the Infernal Plate of the Flame Tyrant could give me, or even whatchamacallit, just to me it's utility and sort of things that complement my playstyle over the overabundance. Now that doesn't mean you can't design a very rare item that does just that. If this Infernal Plate of the Flame Tyrant wanted to go to the very rare category, you could have it give you this ability that lets you fly in the air for 1 minute. That's what very rare would do. Very rare breaks not only the mechanics of the game, not only gives you strong mechanics to play on, but breaks how a character might play forever. Whereas this armor makes them harder to hit, it gives them fire resistance, it gives them some extra damage when people hit them, it gives them this sort of feeling that they are the Flame Tyrant and encased in this red dragon armor. Very rare not only would push that power level, maybe to a +2, but it would also say, I'm going to change very much how I will play forever. Like getting the ability to fly, getting the ability to turn invisible, maybe not just once, but a couple times, or maybe it is a charge based staff or wand that gives you access to up to 7th level spells and can conjure creatures and stuff like that. That's when you want to say that a very rare category item pushes beyond just strength level. It will change and how your players play their characters, and it will change how you must now design encounters, because the ability to fly, the ability to go invisible, to cast let's say Firestorm, or these really big high-end things like Tsunami, is going to change your game. They may get that as players, but as their class is scaling, so is the adventure. But if you put it in the very rare category and you unleash it upon them, you are 100% committing to a campaign or adventure in which you will have to start rethinking your maps, your bosses. Will they be able to withstand these things? So I think for now I'm going to end this part of the discussion. I think we've talked a lot about magic items. I think overall, this series is going to delve a little bit more into them. I know that I said that we are going to showcase some magic items, and that's going to be my goal. I'm going to take a quick moment and run us through some magic items. Hopefully the next series, the next episode in the series might be a little bit shorter. I think we just went through a lot of context, which is important, and delving into these topics from my perspective was also important to me because I'm about to show you some things that you may have never seen before and may not like because they just don't have the power level you're looking for, and they don't have that for your world. But for my world, they have flavor, they have some utility, and they allow me to scale in my party as I watch the story unfold. So you might prefer something else. So keep that in mind, that I'm already aware of that, but use it as a guide to say, I would never use that item. I would actually prefer this. And that's what you should use this video for. You should use this video to maybe not, if my style doesn't work for you, you can look at it and say, that doesn't work. You should actually be doing it this. But now you're starting to understand, like, some of the videos that I've learned the most from are from videos I don't agree with, and then it triggers something in my mind that works for me. Or there are a lot of good DMs out there that I've learned a lot from and have then allowed me to push my game. So I'm more of explaining a little bit why this video has taken a bit too long, and I hope that me pushing it a little longer, delving into my magic items, doesn't deter you. I'm pretty sure in our next video we're going to go over a ton of more magic items now that all this context has been sort of distilled. So when we're ranting, let's jump into it. Let's jump into some magic items and how to design a few of them for your world. So welcome to the 3 magic items I have for you today. These are sort of staple, iconic concepts that I have in my adventures, my campaigns, things that I run. I'm going to start off with the Dawnstone on the top left. The Dawnstone is a unique item to my homebrew world as an iconic part of the setting. Alvaron, the land of the godless, is a continent where the elder evils and divines faced off one last time on the material plane and left the realm devastated. Their remnants remain, and at nighttime, evil creatures search out and hunt for lost souls, people, their former masters. At nighttime, it is a dangerous place in Alvaron, no matter how safe you are. Dawnstones are the sort of solution and lingering relics of the divines. It is a bit superstition meets actual protection, where the sort of simple folk of Alvaron may have a Dawnstone that they pass down through generations in their family, understanding its value for the superstition of warding off creatures, but they themselves may not know that it's an actually enchanted magic item that specifically does that. They may just think of it as a more spiritual kind of thing, that it is a remnant of the divines and their faith, and it's something their family passes on, but they may have no concept of it because it doesn't have these sort of enchanted runes upon it. It's usually worn with simple rope, as described in the item card, a small crystal encased in a platinum clasp worn with elven rope. To them, the elven rope may just be simple rope. It may look firmer or just well made, as it's been passed down for so long. Maybe some of that wear and tear has taken away some of that vigor and lush to it. The platinum clasp, to them, they do understand has value, and is probably why they don't sell it. And the crystal itself looks well off. It's something they've passed down. It's a family treasure at this point. Even the poorest of folk wouldn't sell this off if they needed to pay rent, because it sort of is like their family tree passing down and they may have even seen it ward off creatures. Whereas other people, if they were to inspect it, would see that it is an enchanted crystal. And it has these properties. It gains you advantage against being charmed. You gain advantage against charm and corruption effects. Corruption being a mechanic in my world that I've used heavily. Charm is something that players may also be see as desirable because the barbarian getting charmed is classic. So the Dawnstone is iconic in my world. It may not have the same use in yours, but to me, I introduce it so every so often to remind players of the dangers of traveling at night, of the mechanics of corruption in my world, that some creatures very much charm and lure people to them. The Dawnstone is that sort of that staple, like you need one of these to when traveling around. If you're gonna head over to the Borderlands, you better bring a Dawnstone, like stuff like that. That kind of superstitious beats actual practical enchantment. So it's a short card. It's small, explains what it does very simply, and it lets the flavor sort of carry itself. It doesn't need a long text. Speaking of long text, the Runic Whetstone is an iconic item also in my world. It's or concept where I like to give items early on to the group, something that the group can utilize often enough and take advantage of here and there, to either figure out potential unique solutions or give them an edge in battle. They just don't know who they should use it on yet, and they just gotta play with it. It is a longer card than most, but it's only because it has one effect that needs clarification. So it's not extremely powerful, but it can be based on how you utilize it. It's worth significantly more than the Dawnstone. At 1500 gold, still in the uncommon category, a purple whetstone with many arcane symbols across its faces. Enchanted, after 10 minutes of using the runic whetstone on a weapon, the weapon gains the following benefits for 8 hours. You can use this weapon as an arcane focus. +1 to attack and damage rolls made with this weapon. As a bonus action, this weapon can be summoned to your hand as long as you both are on the same plane. Once a weapon has been enchanted using this item, the runic whetstone cannot be used this way again until the next dawn. Dawn effects are very common in my world. Some people might think that too weak. I don't care. There are other weapons and items that are more powerful because that's what they were designed for. This item was not designed for that. So at 1500 gold, you are getting a weapon that can you use to cast spells, that beats resistance to can go through magical resistance. It gives you the ability to hit more and does a little more damage, and can be called back to you. So the utility is there. They could bury the weapon. They can enchant a weapon, bury it, get captured, and then summon it to their hand and fight. Lots of different utilities. But the thing about the whetstone is that it can be used on almost any item across the entire party. So let's say the cleric wants to use it. Cleric is free to use it. So that's what I bring when I eventually design the first group item. The bag of holding is iconic. Everyone knows the bag of holding. But for me, as much as I like the utility of a bag of holding, I like to have them think more on how they can utilize a magic item than forgetting other mechanics because they have a magic item. Basically, the bag of holding just infinite inventory. They forget inventory stuff. They forget what they have. They just keep funneling things down there, and their mind and they don't think about stuff. With a runic whetstone, they're like, like before we go into this fight, does anyone want to get a bonus to their weapon? Or before they go into a town, they're like, should we use this now or should we wait later? Lots of cool different things. So that's that one. And finally, the Monster Slayer armor. exactly what you are looking for, or potentially what you came to this video to find, a magic item to take from here and bring into your own world. That is pretty useful. It is the Monster Slayer armor. It's an armor, rare, requires attunement, slot body, 3,000 gold. It is the beginning of the rare. It's not too overpowered, but it is at that threshold where it one has +1 while attuned to this armor. Huge. You gain advantage against effects from non-humanoid creatures. Does not include spells. So, creatures that have acid spray or potential psionic abilities, you gain advantage. Huge. Once prolonged caress, when a creature of huge size or larger misses you with an attack, you can move 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. So what's cool about that is a creature can swing at you, miss, and then you can re-maneuver to a better position, or move away if you really need to, or get to somebody. It combines strength and utility into a rare type of item, and the cost and rarity sort of just keeps it locked in and balances it. So I think what we have here, just to keep this video concise, as I tried to explain before, we've gone over a lot of things when it came to the context of magic items and everything. I promise the next videos will be a bit shorter, but I hope you've taken something away, whether it is through the early process or now seeing some magic items for yourself. When you design these things, you should take into consideration flavor of the dawn like the Dawnstone does. You should consider utility, like the runic whetstone does, or just power, like the Monster Slayer armor does, and figure out what threshold you want to give your players. If you're constantly thinking that your players are only gonna like items in this category, you need to design items better or change your encounters. This is hard to take back. If every encounter you're giving out Monster Slayer armor, great sword of 2d6 extra fire damage, and this, you will never be able to top that. You can only go up from there. You need to start smaller, have them grow as characters, have them learn how to play on their own, give them opportunities to discuss things better, and then reward an individual. That's kind of how I do it. But I've spoken long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We've got tons of more content like this where I'm going to be delving into way more magic items. I'm going to build some with you guys. You can throw them in your adventure, use them in campaigns, one-shots, but I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to continue this series. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.